Okay, so one of the hottest cars at the 2019 Detroit Auto Show is Ford's GT500. And it's attracting so much attention, and it's such a serious competitor that we thought we'd do a little bit of an impromptu shootout.
Shootout! Pew, 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 pew! Come on, you knew that was coming. Pew, pew.
I knew it was coming. It doesn't make me any less disappointed.
So we're going to compare it to the Hellcat Challenger Redeye and the Camaro ZL1.
Right. So those are the primary competitors in the sort of pony car turned high power sports car, muscle cars.
Crazy. Oh, you know what I love is the fact that, you know, especially here at Roadshow, we're all about like, yeah, the next autonomous EV, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. And then our favorite cars here have been these crazy muscle things.
Well, I mean, this is the Detroit show. It's the best place for it,
yeah.
Right? So let's start by talking about what we know.
Yes.
Right? Because
we don't actually know a lot about the Mustang.
Ford hasn't given a ton of information. We know what size this engine is, what kind of power it's got, some estimates on performance. So let's start with displacement, like you said.
For which there is no replacement.
There's definitely a replacement, and Ford might be about to prove that because the competitors, the Challenger and the Camaro, both have 6.2 liter supercharged engines.
And this one is a 5.2 liter.
5.2, right.
Ooh.
So that means that it's got a slightly smaller engine.
Right. Yes, I know what smaller displacement means.
Yeah, well, I'm clearing it up for our friends here on the internet. But then that brings us to the next number, which is going to be horsepower.
Right. And
one of the few things we have sort of a ballpark estimate for.
Yeah, and this is where I really, we can get so excited, right? Because the Camaro is even horsepower and torque 650.
Right.
The Redeye is 797 and then 707 horsepower.
Pound-feet.
Sorry, 707 pound-feet. This guy, all we know is that the horsepower is somewhere in the 700s. We're thinking probably like 750 maybe.
Based on some of the other estimates we're going to get to later.
Exactly, but we haven't really gotten any kind of numbers on torque. I mean, I think it'll probably be in the low 700s.
We can definitely estimate that it's going to be somewhere in the 700s based on what we know. We know that it is basically the Voodoo engine that we saw in the GT350. We know that instead of using the flat plane crank, they're going with a more traditional crank for strength. So we know that they're going to be putting some serious power and torque through that bad boy. So 700 sounds about right. And that's because we do know that Ford estimates something like 3.5 seconds 0 to 60.
And all those 0 to 60 times are really close. So the Camaro is 3.5, the Challenger is 3.4, and this one is estimated around 3.5. So judging by those times as well, that means with, you know, the Camaro is down on power 650, yet still has a really fast 0 to 60 time. So the Camaro, lighter weight probably than this guy. So this guy's probably going to be more heavy. It's going to be more heavy. It's going to be heavier than the Mustang.
Right, and that tells us a lot about the nature of these vehicles also. Challengers, those straight line cars.
Yeah,
Hellcat is all about straight line. The Demon's all about popping wheelies.
Right.
That's what Dodge does. Straight line power. Meanwhile, the ZL1
that thing turns.
One of the best handling cars in its segment. And so it's an amazing handling car. Ford has already proven with the GT350 that they can make a fantastic handling car. I think that with the 500, they're going to sort of split the difference there. We're going to get something that handles about as well as the ZL1, but with some serious straight line performance.
Now, the last time I drove a GT500, I had a manual transmission. And this time around...
Those days are over, my friend.
Nope. Although we do get a dual clutch 7-speed.
Right.
But the only thing that you can get a manual transmission in now is the Camaro. Is it 6 or 7-speed manual? Six-speed manual, 10-speed auto.
Right.
And then the Redeye is still an 8-speed regular
torque converter automatic. Right. So of those, I'm pretty sure the purists are thinking like the manual is where I want to go, and that means they're gonna start. You know, the people who really want to shift their own gears are gonna lean towards the Camaro. But the DCT is a proven transmission technology, and if you're talking about
if you
the
want those
fastest possible shifts, it's the way to go.
I mean, I get it. You lose a little bit of that connectedness to the car and connectedness to the road, but what you gain is super fast shifts, super fast 0 to 60 times.
Meanwhile, Dodge is kind of showing that its technology is aging. They've still got that torque converter automatic, which is perfectly all right for straight line speed, but it's not the best gearbox for performance driving.
Right.
What else have we got to kind of compare as far as like the specs
those are really
on that?
that's really the only everything that we have in terms of information.
Do you have like an estimate for like what the top speed of this bad boy is going to be?
Because it's got to be close to 200,
We're living in a world where you can buy a Mustang that might tickle 200 miles an hour. Like, how crazy is that?
What's the fastest speed you've ever gone?
$150.
$150? Oh, yeah. I hit 209.
Well, yeah.
I just had to throw that in there.
Good for you.
But can you imagine like at 209 miles an hour in a regular car without any kind of modifications, just right out of the box, but the warranty?
It would be crazy.
That's ridiculous.
So yeah, it's insane. But I mean, these are insane vehicles, and these are insane times we're living in, and
I love it.
We live in a world where cars are becoming increasingly more electrified. So if you want to get people electrified about these gasoline cars, you got to like really kick out the big numbers. Oh, I thought of one more thing we can compare.
What's that?
Going really fast means that at some point you're going to have to bring it to a stop. We do have some more numbers.
Brakes are overrated. Overrated. You never need to stop.
Well, the Challenger and the Camaro have 390 millimeter brake rotors.
14 and a half, 15 inches
Something
or so.
Like that.
Yeah, it's pretty
ginormous.
ginormous.
This guy's got 420 millimeters. That's like 16 and a half
really? 420?
inches. 420. That means when you bring it to a stop, you're smoking the competition. See, even I got bad jokes every now and then. So knowing what we know, knowing what kind of cars you love, like, which one would you go with based on what we know?
I would go with the Challenger only because I know it's a boat, I know it, I get it, but it's the big car that would make me cheat on my small little Miata. I love the way it looks. Probably wouldn't go for the Redeye. I would probably dial it down a little bit with the Scat Pack, but I really enjoy the Challenger.
I have kind of the three, always been a Mustang guy.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm probably going to continue to be that for this generation. Based on what I learned driving the 350 and based on what I'm expecting from this car, I'm thinking that it just makes me really happy that the Ford is actually getting to the point where it can compete with that Chevy again, especially because I don't particularly love the look of the Camaro, and I definitely don't like sitting in it because the visibility is bad.
Yeah,
but that's not performance stuff that we're talking about. But we should be learning more about this car coming later on this year as we get closer to the launch. So we'll probably have to have some more time where we sit down and talk about it again as we get more information.
Exactly.
And we can get more accurate.
And we are getting a Redeye into Roadshow HQ, I think a little bit later this month. So that should be good. And then once we get you into this one, and then we'll get a ZL1 and we'll have a real Camaro where we actually drive them.
Should be fun. So that's been your, I guess, sort of our estimation of where we think that the Ford Shelby GT500 will compare against, well, the competition in the sort of muscle car segment. Be sure to check out the rest of our coverage of the 2019 Detroit Auto Show for even more cool unveils like this, and hit us up on theroadshow.com for all the news related to Detroit.
See ya.